Well everyone, we're almost at a brand new year, and we definitely had some great games this time around despite Wii U owners seeing the long and painful end of a heavily underappreciated console, myself included. But hey, at least there's a Switch to look forward to once we have gotten the codename NX out of our systems. In the meantime, it's time for me to reflect on all the great games I've played this year. Just one problem though, I haven't been really good at keeping up with this channel due to some personal struggles I had this year. So much so that I wasn't even able to get a list for last year out. So let me quickly recap what would have been in last year's list. Number 10, Guilty Gear Xrd Sign. Number 9, Hatsune Miku Project Diva F2nd. Number 8, Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition. Number 7, Super Mario Maker. Number 6, The Wonderful 101. Number 5, Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Number 4, Skullgirls Second Encore. Number 3, Splatoon. Number 2, Freedom Planet. And number 1, Fire Emblem Awakening. Now, I'm keeping the entries to 5 for this sort of list because it has been hard for me working with 10 in a limited amount of time as of right now. But I do want to go over some brief honorable mentions for some games that would have been part of a longer list. First off is Absu. You like Journey? You like the ocean? This game will hit all of the right buttons and then some. Finally, a water level in a video game that doesn't suck, despite the whole game taking place in water. Rocket League. It's soccer with RC cars. What's not to love about that? And being one of the fastest growing esports doesn't hurt either, although don't expect me to try competitive anytime soon. Hatsune Miku Project Diva X. Definitely a great way to introduce Miku and company to the PS4, although I do feel like this is merely just holding us over until Future Tone, which thankfully is getting an international release. Shantae Half Genie Hero. From what I've played so far, this game is amazing like I hoped that it would. I just haven't played enough to rate it higher. Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice. It's more of the Ace Attorney goodness I know and love, and dang, the story has hit me pretty hard at times. Those cases don't mess around for sure. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started.
Number 5.
I haven't been too big on multiplayer focused games, and not helping was the fact that on the PS4, I had to pay for a Plus account to even access it. Wasn't that the thing that people didn't like about Xbox Live? Sony, why would you play down to your competition when you already had an advantage there? Anyway, if there was one game that eventually prompted me to get a PlayStation Plus subscription, I'm glad that it was for Overwatch. Overwatch was the kind of game that I didn't even know I wanted until I actually got it. It's essentially a game that plays like Team Fortress 2 if it had a setting that was essentially a more mature variant of The Incredibles. That was enough to get me excited right there. While it took a risk like that of Splatoon with upgrading the game as they go after release, it's paying for them quite nicely. There are more than enough heroes to master, and it's to be expected of any multiplayer game. The replay value is through the roof. Who made this game anyway? Really? As in this Blizzard. Well, good job, good job.
Number 4.
In another unreleased list of mine, I had Fire Emblem Fates as my most anticipated game of the past year. Needless to say, it did pretty well for me, but I will admit I did get a bit overhyped for this one. Not helping the fact was that I didn't even get into the franchise itself until Awakening the year before, so expectations were probably higher than they should have been, at least in my case. Exploring the stories behind the warring Hoshido and Nora countries was both fulfilling and bittersweet to me, and it's really hard to elaborate without spoiling the game. I also appreciate having a third choice acting as a more neutral option, although I probably would have been more okay with this being the only story just so that it can be fleshed out a bit more. Regardless of such, this game took what worked from Awakening and expanded upon it, as well as taking a few risks here and there in order to experiment with the franchise's new direction that Awakening has established. And while not everything in the game can be a winner, it's still a worthy sequel in my book. Sometimes that's all you need.
Number 3.
Well, this is going to be awkward. So the crazy J-pop crossover spin-off game was able to stand above a main title that was released in the exact same year. Funny how things work out, but hey, it's a personal list for a reason. Seriously, it felt like I was one of the very few people that was actually looking forward to Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which for the longest time was known as Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. As it already stands, those two franchises were already out there in terms of being combined together, and then when the first trailer was shown, everyone had to do a double take and go, is this seriously it? I can't really blame them myself because really, what can you even make of this? But I was able to hold my judgment of the game long enough to try it out first, and I could not just stop playing it for a good while. I love how it looks, I love the music, I love the incredibly detailed combat system, I love all the flashy super moves, I love the chaining hits together, I love the characters, I love the setting, I love the superstar vibe, I just love it! Now, if only I had more hours a day to play more of it.
Number 2.
BlazBlue. Well, shoot, guys, you do know how to top yourselves. Are you sure you want to end things so soon? Regardless of such, I'm glad that the BlazBlue universe, as of now at least, has reached a steady conclusion, and I was getting kind of worried a bit with the story reaching deep levels of the abyss and confusing, or rather deeper levels, but in the end they've managed to keep it together well enough all the way to the end. Didn't need to worry too much about the gameplay either, as it's just as smooth as always. Heck, arcade mode is an adventure all of its own. Not just with a pretty large roster, but multiple acts. For an arcade mode. The presentation also knocks it out of the park, minus the roster images, and there are plenty of extra modes and goodies to ensure that you'll be playing for quite a while. And with the series finally coming to a close, the game was definitely one to remember for the fans. Kinda makes me wonder, if they did a sequel to this game, how would it go? Only time will tell, but at least this game and whatever Guilty Gear has in store will keep us busy until then. Maybe the new game will try on that graphics engine that worked out so well for the XR games. They don't have to, the sprites are fantastic enough on their own, but it is something that could very well look incredible. I can dream, can't I?
Number 1.
20 years of Pokemon. We have certainly come a long way, and the recent releases of the main series actually does quite a few things differently than before. Instead of gym leaders, there are kahunas and trial captains. There are boss Pokemon now. HMs are finally gone, and I hope that they stay gone, except they probably can't in remakes, but besides those. On top of that, Pokemon can perform ultimate attacks in the form of Z-moves, which can give massive potential to any Pokemon as opposed to a select few with the Mega Evolutions. Don't get me wrong, I do love them, but there might be some favoritism involved with that. And there are plenty of new bells and whistles added, like the Festival Plaza, Pokepelico, and revamping Pokemon Ami into Pokemon Refresh. The characters and stories were also major highlights as well, and even though the roster of new Pokemon is once again rather small, I find myself liking most of these Pokemon. It's just a shame that I can only carry 6 with me at a time. Not to mention the Alolan forms add a nice touch to the region itself. This may very well be my new favorite Pokemon game, or rather set of games. While it may take some time to say that for sure, at the very least, they are my top picks for 2016. That's all for now, until next time, and have yourself a wonderful day.